hope everyone's enjoying your lunch so far. And once again, thank you for joining us today for the 21st Annual State of the District honoring U.S. Congressman Will Hurd. A little bit about Congressman Hurd. A native of San Antonio, Congressman Hurd is a graduate of John Marshall High School and attended Texas A&M University. He served in the CEI for almost a decade before leaving to become a senior advisor to a cybersecurity firm. He was elected to Congress as a representative of the 23rd Congressional District of Texas in 2014 and serves as the Vice Chair of the Border and Maritime Subcommittee on the Committee for Homeland Security, as well as on OGR. If everybody will join me in a round of applause welcoming our U.S. Congressman Will Hurd.
For being here today, and thank the Southside Chamber for the honor of addressing you all. This is my first State of the District address, so that's kind of exciting. I was talking to Bob Rivara the other day. Bob, are you here? There he is. Yeah. And he asked, he's like, "Hey, I would love to publish your speech in advance. Just send it my way." And my staff laughed. They're like, "Well, Will just likes to put a couple of bullet points on a note card and extemporaneously speak." But my staff printed a speech anyways, Bob, and I'll give that to you. Afterwards. I want to do something real quick before I talk about the last 6 weeks. It's crazy to think it's only been 6 weeks, and kind of my priorities for the next year or 2 years. I want to introduce some of my San Antonio, my Texas team. Daniel Meza is here. Many of y'all know Daniel Meza. I think Daniel has paid many of y'all to come up and be like, "Hey, Daniel Meza was a great hire." I hear that. I hear that all the time. We also have Henry Guevara. Who's Henry? Carmen Gutierrez. Ashley Harris. Jack Young. And then also Justin Hollis is here, Justin in the back. These are the folks that are going to make sure that we're doing everything we can to represent San Antonio, my hometown. It's great to have them as part of the team. Many of y'all that were at SA to DC had the chance to meet some of our staff up in Washington. We have a good guy from West Texas running our chief of staff, running the show up there, Stony Burke. And he's going to be down here in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to take him around to introduce him to many of you. I also have an announcement today. It's an announcement that we've been working on for the last 3 months, and it's in an area, everybody knows I'm the national security guy. That's my background and experience. And one of the things that I always talk about, that education is a national security issue. And if we're not training our next generals and doctors and intelligence officers, then we're not going to keep our position in the world that we have. And I also think that we have income inequality because of education inequality. And one of the things that we really want to do was partner with an institution of higher learning. And over the last few weeks, we got to work, and I want to thank Dr. Matson for her help in pulling this off. We are going to open our Southside office at Texas A&M San Antonio. Yeah, please. I don't think it's ever been done before, and what we're going to be able to do is, it's great representing my city, it's great representing, my alma mater as well. It's going to be great working with Texas A&M San Antonio, over these next few years. It's going to be a great partnership, and I think we're going to have plenty of interns. As A&M is building and growing their cyber security and cyber assurance program, this is something I'm looking forward to working with them on. So once we get the move-in date, we'll have a big party and invite all y'all over there. But thank you for that, and looking forward to this association. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I tell people all the time, it's awesome representing my hometown. I was born and raised in San Antonio. Grew up in Leon Valley. I live in Helotes now. My joke always is, you know, growing up in Leon Valley, there's two places I never thought I'd live: Afghanistan and Helotes. It's pretty awesome going up there and representing my hometown. It's also awesome helping people. Right? You know, I didn't run for this job to be a congressman. I ran to be a representative. And you know, when folks, I was at an event, and this young woman came up to me and showed me a letter from the Social Security Administration. Her husband was in the Army and was in Iraq, and his vehicle ran over an IED and blew the car up. He ended up losing his legs and had to amputate his legs above the knee. And he went through all his doctor's visits and ended up being discharged, medically discharged from the military. And he was on Social Security, VA benefits. And Social Security sends him a letter that says, as of January something, you're no longer disabled. And it's like, that's outrageous. It's, you know, are his legs growing back? And so it's great being able to get that kind of feedback and putting them in touch and working with the right people and battling the bureaucracy on behalf of individuals that need help. And that's an honor being able to do that. And many of you also know another reason that I ran for office was because I was pretty frustrated with our system, pretty frustrated with the caliber of our elected officials. You know, y'all heard the story. I told the story about how, you know, I'm in Afghanistan and the bomb goes off, kills some local guards, takes out a section of the wall, and my unit had to figure out what happened. We had a briefing that evening with some members of Congress, and this gentleman didn't know the difference between the Sunni and the Shia. And this is a guy who had been on the House Intelligence Committee for a number of years. And, you know, my mama said to be the part of the problem, part of the solution. And that's why I decided to run for Congress the first time. And so it's great being in a position to do something about the issues I care about. In the last 6 weeks, it's crazy to me, it's only been 6 weeks, I was selected to be the Vice Chairman of the Border and Maritime Subcommittee of Homeland Security. Homeland Security is Homeland Security is an important issue. This district has 29 counties, 820 miles of the border, 2 time zones, and it's the longest border any member of Congress has. And so the person sitting in District 23 should be leading on this issue. I've been working with Chairman Michael Paul on a border security bill, and one of the things that's important, a lot of my colleagues from the interior of the country like to talk about border security, and I always ask them, when was the last time you've been in the border? It's usually not anytime recently. When was the last time you talked to a border sheriff? Never. When was the last time you talked to a businessman or woman who has business interests on this side of the border and business interests on the other side of the border? And the answer is, never done that. So I'm like, oh yeah, well, so what was your question on border security? And so it's important we can secure our border and facilitate the movement of goods and services at the same time. We have to do that. Mexico is an important partner. Canada is an important partner. And we need to make sure that everything that we do, that we ensure that we continue that move, because it's vital to the strength of our economy, it's vital to our country. And it's great being in a position to lead on this issue. We took 25 members of Congress to the border. We went to San Diego, Tucson, and McAllen. And, you know, one thing Eddie Aldrete had always said, you know, nobody ever goes down. When we go down to these trips, nobody ever talks to business people. You talk to Border Patrol, you talk to ICE, you talk to the sheriffs, but you don't talk to the community, you don't talk to business people. So, hey, good idea, let's make it happen. And so we brought about 50 business leaders to come and talk about their perspective on the border. And some of my Republican colleagues had never heard this perspective before. And this was important. And a lot of folks want to build a wall from sea to shining sea. And many of the people on this trip, after seeing that, went back to Washington, D.C. and realized, one, that it's way too expensive, and two, that the walls and tools you use in some places, not every place, and went back and wrote letters and op-eds in their hometown papers talking about how they've seen the light. And so it's great to be able to have that level of influence on folks. On try to start doing is continue to bring my colleagues back here to San Antonio, take them to NSA Texas, the 24th and 25th Air Force, show them what's really going on and help them understand this part of the world. So it's awesome being in that position. One of the things that we also did is we've had a hearing on the foreign fighter pipeline. This is basically dealing with Syria and Iraq. And what's scary about what's happening in Syria right now is the number of foreign fighters that are going into Syria, going into Iraq. And these are people that are from visa waiver countries. So it's folks, it's Europeans, and that can easily come back and forth to the United States. The amount of foreign fighters coming into Syria is about 4 times what it was in Iraq, and about 8 times what it was in Iraq, and 8 times about what it was in Afghanistan. And that's dangerous. And also what ISIS and some of these groups, their ability to leverage social media for their behalf is scary. When I was in Afghanistan, for a year and a half. I managed all of our operations. And when we were chasing the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, the way the Taliban and Al-Qaeda was getting their message out is they were doing what was called night letters. They would write a little letter, leave it on people's doorsteps. They would use some of the local press to get their message out. And they were reaching maybe hundreds of people. And now ISIS has the tools to reach millions of people. And we need to counter that threat. One of the issues we're going to be dealing with in next week when we get back to Washington, D.C. is the authorized use of military force in Syria. For me, ISIS is a clear and present danger to the United States, period. And we need to do everything we can to destroy it. And there's no more important decision that I'm going to make as a member of Congress than agreeing to send our men and women into harm's way, and sending many of our family members here from San Antonio into harm's way. And so we're going to be reviewing this request. And ultimately, I think where we need to be is we need to give our combatant commanders all the tools that they need. I don't think we need conventional forces right now. I think it's to continue the Air Force, continue fixed wing, continue unmanned aerial vehicles, make sure that we're working with our local partners. Because ISIS is a threat to the Jordanians, to the Libyans, to the Egyptians, to the Qataris, to the Turks. And you're seeing them working. They're a danger to the Kurds in northern Iraq. And so working closely with our Arab partners in the region, with special forces and intelligence-led groups, I think is where we can end up having changing the tide in this war. I always use the example again back in Afghanistan. In December of 2001, Kandahar was the last Taliban stronghold in Afghanistan. And this was, at this point, we had probably killed a quarter of Al-Qaeda leadership. We had pushed all the Taliban out of Afghanistan. A lot of them were still in Pakistan. And at the time, we had less than 500 Americans on the ground. 100 CIA officers, 400 special forces. Right? And we were able to do it that way because we had the most awesome military Air Force that the world has ever seen. And we were working with local partners in the region. And I think that's a model we can follow in Syria. I'm also on Oversight and Government Reform Committee. This wasn't a committee I had thought about when I was running for Congress. And after I got elected, I got a phone call from Jason Chaffetz. He's from Utah, and he says, "Will, I want you to run a subcommittee on information technology in OGR. Never been done before." And I said, "Hey, sure, why not? Sounds good. My background, cybersecurity. I'm from Cybersecurity City, USA." And I said, let's do it. I didn't realize how big of a deal it was for a freshman, so what they say, have a gavel, to be a chairman of the subcommittee. And we've had a number of hearings, and one of the ones that is super frustrating to me, and I never would have thought when I was running for Congress that I'd talk about IT procurement as much as I do. But GAO, the Government Accountability Office, produces a report every 2 years called the High Risk Report. These are projects that are $1 billion or more that are having significant issues. First question, $1 billion is the cutoff, right? So that's, there's so many problems that we have to put the marker at $1 billion. And so we're looking at these projects, and I'm focusing specifically on some of the IT-related issues. federal government spends $80 billion a year on IT procurement. That's billion with a B. 80% of that is on legacy programs, software that y'all and I would think is out of date. Right? It's outrageous. DOD had a program where they were trying to integrate two scheduling systems. $320 million, 9 years, and they couldn't figure it out. And so they decided to buy something off the shelf. And I was like, did not ever heard of Microsoft Outlook? and so I can go on and on about these issues. And so I'm sitting there in this hearing, and the head of GAO was there, good man, and I said, Mr. Gadaro, how long have you been with GAO? He says, 44 years. And I said, have you ever heard, in those 44 years, have you ever heard of anyone being fired for cost overrun, for project overruns? And he sat there and thought for like 13, 14 seconds. And he goes, no, I can't recall, but I'm sure there were some people who pop up. Derek, if this was in your business and you had a 9-year overrun, you would have fired the entire office, right? And what was even funnier is after this hearing, some of my colleagues were patting me on the back, saying, hey, Will, great question, man, great question, I'm glad you're asking. And I look at my watch, and I said, it's 2015. Why am I the first person to ask if someone's been fired for cost overruns or time overruns? And for me, as we're going about looking at our budget, the federal budget, and we're talking about doing things like cutting Pell Grants, right, and making it harder for kids to go to school, but we have billions of dollars that we can realize in savings. And I went to Tom Price, he's the chairman of the budget committee. I was like, Tom, I'm going to find you a couple $1 billion to keep some of these programs up and running. But that's the kind of stuff that we need to be doing. It's not sexy. It's not thinking. It's not sexy, but this is the kind of stuff that needs to be done. You know, I'm going to spend, when I was in the campaign and I spent, people that invested in what we were doing, I spent their money like it was my money. And I think everybody in the federal government should be spending y'all's hard-earned taxpayer dollars like it's hard-earned money. And if we did that, we had more people up in Washington, D.C. that had some business sense, that have done projects before, I think we'd be a lot better off. And so we're going to try to bring that perspective up to Washington. We also, in the last 6 weeks, had SA to D.C. How many of y'all came to SA to D.C.? Raise your hand. I was telling someone, it looked like it was a reunion, an SA to D.C. reunion. And it was great seeing everyone up there and learning about many of the legislative priorities. And I'm looking forward to helping with those in Washington and learning more about them here in San Antonio. And something that's interesting, I told this to someone last night, the House has passed 42 bills in the last 6 weeks. All of them, except for one, and I'll let y'all guess which one that was. All of them, had bipartisan support. Right? These are some bills like Hire More Heroes Act, the Keystone Pipeline, Save the American Workers Act. This is what changed the Obamacare law from making full-time 40 hours instead of 30 hours. The Hire More Heroes Act changed Obamacare tax law so that you don't count veterans towards hiring, towards your 50-person threshold. So it's to allow people to hire more veterans. Promoting the Job Creation and Reducing Small Business Burdens Act. This simplifies some of the Dodd-Frank provisions. National Gas Pipeline Permitting Reform Act. 12 anti-human trafficking bills. The Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention for American Veterans Act. LNG Permitting Certainty and Transparency Act. Fighting Hunger Incentive Act. American Small Business Tax Relief Act. This is making sure that we make some of the small business tax cuts permanent in federal tax code. It's also, allowing people to have charitable giving from your IRA accounts, so you don't have to pay tax on it. And so, we're actually getting some things done, and it's pretty shocking to realize 42 already in 6 weeks. But we have a long way to go. My priorities, and I'll go through this short and take some questions. It's cybersecurity, it's information technology. As the chairman of this committee, we're going to be focusing on 4 areas. Cybersecurity, we're going to be focusing on IT procurement, we don't maybe talk about that anymore. Emerging technology. Many of y'all probably have Fitbits or something thereof. FDA says you can't put a heart monitor on that because that then becomes a medical device and it needs to go through all these process and things. That's crazy. It's my heart rate, and if I want to keep track of it, I should be able to keep track of it. 3D printing. 3D printing is great until you 3D print a gun or 3D print something that has patent issues, right? So a lot of this emerging technology that we need to make sure that regulatory code keeps up with. And then the 4th area we'll be tackling is privacy. We can secure our digital infrastructure and protect our civil liberties at the exact same time. We have to do that. It's important, and it's going to be great leading in this area. I was at the 24th and 25th Air Forces yesterday, getting a briefing, and the guys at the 24th, they had the slide up. That's classic military. You have a PowerPoint deck. I was upset that the Air Force usually leads off every briefing. I was in Afghanistan and Pakistan with the weather report, and they didn't do that here in San Antonio. I was a little disappointed. But the first slide they had was talking about cyberspace. And it's one of the things that I found is cybersecurity means different things to different people. And the first step is trying to find that. What are you actually talking about? And the 24th did a great job when they talk about cyberspace as a domain, right? It's just like saying, the land, sea, and air. Cyberspace is a domain. It's man-made, and the primary architect is private industry. Right? And we have to remember that. Cyberspace is contested. We know the risk to Main Street, to Wall Street, to all of our critical infrastructure, and we have to protect that. And cyberspace is incredibly complicated. And I think those are all accurate. And one of the first things we're going to be doing, I think it's Tuesday, when I get back, we're having our first hearing. And we're having a number of different people from industry come in and talk about the threat that they see to their digital infrastructure. And what we're going to see is whether it's retail, restaurants, or manufacturing, or energy, or critical infrastructure, you're going to see some common threats and some common themes. And those are some areas that we focus on is going to help everyone. And then we're also going to talk about how are you engaging with the federal government on your cybersecurity issues. And they're all going to say, they're going to name 3-letter agencies, 5-letter agencies, 6-letter agencies. And then we're going to bring in all those agencies and say, hey, how are you interacting with the private sector? And you're going to probably hear them say a very different thing than what the private sector folks said. So we're going to be able to focus on the common themes and figure out where the disconnect is. Because one of the important things that we need to do in cybersecurity is make sure that we have appropriate regulatory protections for private industry to share information with the federal government. It's not just sharing PII information. It's if you're sharing something at risk to your enterprise, that's going to have an impact on your bottom line if it gets out, and the federal government needs to be able to protect that. So this is one area where I think the House, the Senate, and the President can actually agree on. And so I'm looking forward to working on these topics. Where the Air Force is creating 39 cyber protection teams. 8 of those are going to the Air Force National Guard. 4 of those have already been decided and placed in cities other than San Antonio. And they have 4 more that they're going to place. And so we're working hard to make sure one of those cyber protection teams is placed here at Lackland Air Force Base. It makes way too much sense. We have the infrastructure, we have the people, and so we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to working with UTSA and Texas A&M on these public-private partnerships to make sure that we're creating, we have to educate people for jobs that don't exist right now. And this is a critical need, and it's something that needs to start at the high school level. And so I'm looking forward to working with Texas A&M San Antonio and UTSA and a number of the schools on the south side and making sure that we have programs where we're encouraging kids and girls to get involved in science, technology, engineering, and math and have this pipeline into rack space, into the 24th Air Force, into the 25th Air Force, because we have to do it. We can't be leading San Antonio on this. And, when you look at a place like Silicon Valley or Austin. I think we can get there. And you have to have four things in order to achieve, that level of Silicon Valley. One, you got to have supportive governments, right? And when you look at our city officials, our county officials, our state officials that represent this area, they definitely are supporting this mission and are ready to do whatever we can in order to help. You got to have an industry, right? That has a need for folks, and with Rackspace, with all the banking industries here, with the NSA Texas folks, we have that. The third thing is you got to have the right educational tools, and with Texas A&M leading, with UT San Antonio leading, with a number of the other universities around here, we have that piece. And the fourth piece that we need now is venture capital and money. And that's something that we're working on bringing some of these folks from Silicon Valley and Austin here to San Antonio to understand what's going on, to talk about some of the issues that we may have, whether it's in the federal space or not, in order to start bringing some of those dollars here to San Antonio. When we bring those four elements together, we're going to have an even bigger and thriving economy than we have right now, and it's going to be awesome playing a role there. So my last area that I'm going to talk about when it comes to my priorities, again, national security. We'll talk about ISIS. I think I told the story to some of y'all when I was in DC. We had an offsite with our staff, a planning session with our staff, and we did it at the National Archives. And the Archivist of the United States brought out some pretty amazing documents. One of the documents they brought out was this old radar plot from 1941. And I didn't realize that radar really hadn't been used in the military until late 41. And this radar plot was from Opana. It's a site 15 miles north of Pearl Harbor. And at 7:04, these two privates that were managing this radar plot get a hit. And they thought it was some B-17s coming from the mainland coming back to Hawaii. And at 7 o'clock, all the communication systems shut down at 7 o'clock in the morning. And so they didn't have anyone else to call, but their senior advisor said, hey, no, this isn't B-17s. And so these two privates didn't have that much experience with radar, so they continued plotting these planes. And they'd make about 10, 12 plots, and at 7:40, they turn off the machine, they go get breakfast, and at 7:57, Pearl Harbor is bombed. Right? And I used that, I saw this radar plot, and it was just, it grabbed me and said, hey, can I get a copy of this? Hanging up on my wall. And because to me, it's an example of some of the intelligence failures that we've had in the past. Having been in the CIA during 9/11 and recognizing, and chasing Al-Qaeda and the guys that brought down the Twin Towers, and having spent almost my adult life chasing bad guys across the world, this is something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's something that's important. It's something that folks here in San Antonio are playing a major role in doing, and I want to make sure that we're bringing all these elements together in order to continue keeping our country safe. So we've accomplished a lot already, I think, in 6 weeks. We're punching above our weight, and we're looking forward. I tell people it took a lot of folks to get elected. This will take a lot more people to govern. And that's why one of the things we're working on, and Daniel Meza is helping me head this up, we call it the 23 for the 23rd. We're getting 23 business, civic leaders across the district that are going to advise me on issues going on in the district. They're going to also help us figure out how we craft solutions to some of these problems. Because guess what? The 535 people in Washington, D.C. aren't going to solve all of our problems, right? It's y'all in this room that are going to be able to do that. And we want to have the ability to harness that talent in solving some of the problems that we have. And I'm going to need y'all's help to do that. And as we unroll and unveil that, stay tuned. But this is something exciting and something that we need in order to make sure that we're doing everything we can to represent this district. So I'm going to stop there and open it up to some questions. Take a pearls of wisdom as well. But please, let's open it up to the floor. Good. the question is, basically, where am I harming the fighters in the Ukraine going against Russia? It's, Moscow is under pressure because of the price of oil, their economy is tanking. This is one of those areas where we have to protect our NATO allies, right? Ukraine is a NATO ally, and when we say, hey, we're with you, we need to be with you, and we need to protect them. And so I think there's a lot of things that we can be doing in sharing intelligence to bolster what the folks in Ukraine are doing in order to stave off these the Spetsnaz that are really pushing this issue. And I think we're leaving to combatant commanders. I don't know about if there's been a request for arms just yet, but I know we need to make sure that we're supporting the Ukraine and all the rest of our NATO allies. This is an area where I look at, energy is important. I talk about energy as a tool of national security. I want to be selling energy to South Korea, Japan, Western Europe. Because if we're doing it, the Russians aren't, the Iranians aren't, the Saudis aren't. And these are keeping jobs here. This is money that's coming back here. I say, folks at Dairy Queen, kids at Dairy Queen are making $23 an hour. And it's not because the soft serve is great. It's because of the impact that this sector is having on the economy, and I want to see it continue to grow. An interesting part about this, having talked to a lot of folks in the sector, people realize, they're like, hey, everyone who does this, like, this is the life. It's peaks and valleys. And I was in Midland recently, and they were telling me, like, Will, we have to make tough decisions. None of us expected oil to be at below $50 a barrel, and we've had to make some really tough decisions. And that's why we need you guys up in Washington, D.C. To make some of those same tough decisions. But I think we're going to see the price go back up probably in Q2. So those guys that are involved in this on a daily basis, their hair is not on fire just yet. But I think it's something that's going to see continue. So thanks for the question. Anything else? Eddie. Sure, the question is there a threat out there that Congress should be worrying about or not? One group is Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab is in Eastern Africa. They've actually had some connections. Some folks that were connected to Al-Shabaab were arrested here in San Antonio and thrown in jail, I think it was a year and a half ago. Al-Shabaab is dangerous. They have the tactics, techniques, and procedures, and they have the willingness to hurt folks here in the homeland. So that is a group. I think a lot of times, ISIS is probably the most clear and present danger. The beheadings, the burnings, but there are so many groups that are out there that we need to be following, and we can't just focus on just one. It's a dangerous world we live in. When I was in Afghanistan, my unit alone was probably focusing on about 24 threats to the homeland, credible threats, and now that has just increased. But the great thing is there are hardworking men and women working every day. I've told a story when you're in the CIA and you're recruiting spies and stealing secrets, you got to make sure you don't have surveillance. And I'm in the country, and I'm going to meet an asset, and I'm turned down this alley, and I thought this alley was going to be completely dead. But it was like a parade. There's a couple thousand people in this alley, and I'm in a Toyota Tercel, which is like a Kia Sophia. It's tiny. And I'm going 4 miles an hour, and people kind of hit the car, and this woman walks in front of the vehicle. And I mash the brake, and I run over her flip-flop, and I drag her foot across the concrete, bust her toe wide open. And she looks in the mirror, in the dash, and goes, and starts screaming bloody murder. I have a couple hundred people on my car, banging it, shaking it. Right? And our standard operating procedure in this situation was get off the X, take off. But my little Toyota Tercel wasn't going to get me anywhere. And I had a concealed weapon, but it only had 13 bullets, so that wasn't going to help. So I did what I was told not to do, and I did what was least expected. I get out of the car. And so I unfold my 6'4" frame and get out of the car, and everybody was shocked. One, because I didn't think I was going to get out of the car. Two, I was like twice the size of most of them. And I knew some of the local language, but I didn't know it well enough to get out of the situation. So I said, does anybody speak English? And this little guy, parts of the crowd, he goes, I speak English. And I said, where's the closest hospital? And he asked the crowd, he's like, sir, it's 4 blocks away. And I said, fetch me a rickshaw. And he goes and gets me a rickshaw. And I take $200 out of my pocket, make a big display of handing it to the woman. I said, take her to the hospital immediately. And she gets in the rickshaw, my little translator jumps in the rickshaw, and they take off. And the crowd starts clapping. Right? They're patting me on the back, they're leading me to my car. I get in the little Toyota for sale, I'm driving off, and I look in the rearview mirror and everybody's waving, and my heart is beating, right? Because I thought my mom was going to get the call that no mother ever wants to get, right? And it's a fun story to tell now because I got out of that situation. I tell it because there are thousands of men and women every single day working hard to keep us safe. And you know, it's an awesome opportunity to represent the residents of the 23rd District of Texas, but it's also awesome to represent those people, those men and women that are fighting for us every night to make sure that we can live in the greatest country on earth. Thank you all for coming here today. Look forward to
we've been making a tradition to give folks some gifts, and I believe this is the mission that is in your district, Mission Espada. I heard that was actually informed on the story about this. The doorway at Espada, the Spanish architect who worked on this portion of the arch, just left us high and dry and went back to Spain. And so our local residents, the indigenous, the folks around here, decided to put it back to actually put it together to finish this door. Did it a little wrong. One of the angles is a little off, and it's not to be over here, but if anything, it shows our will, our know-how, and our determination to create doors in San Antonio, and thank you for having yours open to us.
And I think everybody that came to SA DC and where my office realized I had nothing up, so this is the first thing that's going on.
Yes, thank you. And everyone, thank you for joining us. Yes, thank you. Once again, I want to acknowledge our sponsors as well. They couldn't do this without your support. Brooks Development Authority, as always, IBC Bank, thank you, and our silver sponsors, SAWS. Also, our bronze sponsors and partners, Hopecat, Calumet, L&V, and Palo Alto College. Everybody, thank you for joining us for Congressman Hurd's first State of the District address, and we look forward to hosting you next year, sir. Thank you.